Hey everyone, welcome back to Bridge the Gap Podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Scott.
And it is Wednesday, April 29th. And you know what I was doing 2 years, 3, 4 years, how many years? 3 years ago?
Prom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when I peaked, guys.
Shut up.
I haven't looked pretty since.
That's ridiculous. You better not have peaked in high school. That's not a good thing. I taught you not to.
I didn't peak in high school. I didn't peak in high school. My looks did, though.
Shut up.
I fear.
You're a nut job. But yeah, it's crazy. Time is going by quick, man. It is crazy how fast time is going. And like I started this new job and I work with younger people. And so I have firsthand awareness of my age. And I have firsthand awareness of your generation a little bit more, Like one of the managers is like 23, maybe 24. Yeah. So crazy. Like I was telling a story. I don't think I told you the story, but I was talking around and I was talking to him and I was like, she was an older lady. And then I recognized who I was talking to. And I was like, okay, she was older than me. I have to recognize that I'm the old guy in the group right now, And they started laughing. I was like, God, what a ridiculous. And then I was talking to people today about one of my former peers, because like I said a few episodes back, I went back to a company that I was with before. And when I left that organization, I was only 35. And now, I'm 51. And so I think he was probably in his mid to late 40s. So I think he was anywhere from 10 to 15 years older than most of us, really. I mean, one of my other buddies that got me to come back to the organization is like 4 years older than I am. So your boss would be like, anybody need a restroom break? And we used to razz him all the time. We'd be like, yeah, Hunt needs a break because he's an old man, and he would always laugh and be like, you guys just wait, and now here I am. I'm that old guy, like it's a trip. But what's crazy is my brain doesn't feel any older than it was when I left. You know what I mean? Like I went back and I'm, some of the stuff is the same, a lot's different, but it's kind of like riding a bike, like I'm starting to remember things that I just thought my brain had just let go. Like I never thought I'd use it again, even down to like numbers and stuff. It's really weird how the brain works that way.
Yeah.
And so I'm thrust back into that time when I was 35. Around, my brain still feels that age. My body clearly doesn't. But yeah, it's a trip,
Yeah.
And so about that too is so one of the clips I posted on our Facebook page, which by the way, we had a lot of views and some pretty good opinions on some of them. And I posted the one about how you're afraid of high schoolers. And one of the comments was like, geez, you're awfully judgmental for just being out a few years yourself, which I thought was pretty funny.
And what if they just minded their own business?
Well, we want them to comment.
No. Did they even listen to the clip? The high schoolers are mean.
I don't know.
I have a solid reason to be afraid of them. They are mean as hell.
Yeah. They're just different.
Mean as hell. They're so mean.
Everybody's so different.
I know.
It's pretty crazy, but yeah. 3 years ago. You didn't peak then. You're freaking nuts, dude.
No, I didn't peak as a person.
No, you still haven't peaked as a person. You're still figuring it out, as evident from last week, because you were a mental case last week.
I didn't take my anxiety meds last week, guys. I don't know what happened to me.
Well,
I was sleep deprived. I'm a woman, and that's as far as I'll go with that statement. And I didn't take my medication, so I was a mess. In fact,
you were, dude. I got a lot of people reaching out to me, going, "Is Lauren okay?" Like that didn't even sound like her. I was like, I don't know. She was losing her mind. I go, she didn't even show everything. Like I almost cut the whole episode. I literally was like, we might as well just stop because you're a mess. And but
sorry guys,
but we didn't. You plowed through it like you should, like I taught you.
Yeah, because normally I'd be able to have that conversation just like this, where we just be talking.
Yeah,
it literally was just a bad day.
Yeah, you're a mess, dude.
Good I was
Lord.
Mess.
Man, oh man. But the good thing was is it was truthful and it was hard and it was direct, and there are definitely some things that, you know, I think people gained from it, because we picked up another like 5 followers on Facebook alone, which, you know, may not sound like a lot, but that's actually a lot for that platform. You know, most people follow TikTok or Instagram or, but there was a lot of feedback and views, thousands of views, which is pretty cool, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you need to be a mess and us fight a little bit, then, you know, let's knock it out. But
I don't want to be a mess.
well, you shouldn't.
Because I'm usually not. It's false advertising.
Well, the crazy thing for me is knowing you your whole life. It's crazy. The medicine shouldn't have such an impact on you when you're not on it, because you weren't like that before.
But it's like when you start something and it's supposed to be continuous, when you don't take it, it does jack you up. It's like birth control. That's why it's so important that you're on it all the time, or else your hormones will do a random flip. So it's like once your body gets accustomed to the stabilization that is provided by the medicine, when you're not on it, it gets like one of those things where, you know, you're on steroids, steroid cream for a long time, then you go off of it, it flares back up real quickly. So I think it was just one of those where the combination of sleep deprivation and other things that were going on, I think it just all caught up to me and bit me in the butt, dude.
Yeah.
I think that would came out. It surprised me.
Yeah, it was nuts, dude. But it was still a good topic. And you know, listen, I was talking to somebody today who's younger than I am. Shocking. And he was talking about his team and the challenge for hiring, and he's like, I hire and I train and, I engage and build a relationship and respect. And then as soon as I have to give challenging feedback, they'll just quit. Like they'll just stop showing up. He's like, this generation, this 20 to 25-year-old generation, and he's not much older than that. They're just softer. And so, and listen, there's a lot of options, and he's somebody I always tell my peers, man, I hope they have bills to pay or something, because if they're just living at home, they're going to quit because they don't need to do anything, and they can't take any feedback. And, so he brought up, some of the stuff that you brought up, whereas, and there's just more options. I think a lot of people can't take or just won't accept the challenge to be challenged, because nobody grows by being complacent. You grow when you're challenged, and so I think that has a lot to do with it. But there's a lot of options, and I'm sure people leave and they just go do DoorDash because nobody has to tell them what to do or yell at them or anything. And not that anybody yells in a professional workplace anyways, but people interpret yelling. Well, you work in a restaurant. That's a different world.
Oh, I'm not saying just restaurants. There are 100% bosses that abuse power.
Yeah, but okay. So this is where I'm 100% more equipped to talk to you about than you are, because I've worked for multiple organizations.
Does that abuse power and do yell, but then they'll be like, no, they're just soft.
No, that's what I was getting at. There's a stark difference now. You can't yell. You'll get fired, because HR is such a dominant force in organizations now that they'll fire you if you yell. There's just it's treating associates with respect policies, which we used to call TAWR. Tons. Now, listen, I'm not saying every boss doesn't yell, and I've been very high level meetings with an organization where it's pretty cutthroat. I mean, rector, vice president level down to an associate or just to a mid-level manager. Most of those managers, if they yell, they get fired. It's just most cultures won't accept it because of the HR and legal ramifications of being sued and just bad publicity and, blah, blah, blah. But But it is true. I mean, same organization, like I said, 15 years ago, and the way that I was led then is way different than I'm led now.
Yeah.
Because they had to evolve, they couldn't throw stuff on the floor like they used to, and that was just 15 years ago. You know what I mean? So
I'm not saying that in a sense of like there should be zero responsibility for actions, because obviously if you've listened to me talk on this podcast at all, I don't believe in that. But I do, like, there are instances where there are people in power that do abuse it.
Of course.
And then they'll be like, well, the associate was just being sensitive. It's like, no, you kind of implied that like they were a loser.
Well,
because they had to call out because they were sick. Like small things like that where bosses will then abuse the fact that they have authority. I mean, I've been in the restaurants and I've had multiple of those managers where they're like, well, last time we tried to call you, I was like, I told you I had the flu. So why'd you call me in the first place?
Right.
We couldn't rely on you. I had the flu.
Yeah.
Like I literally, I can't touch food with the flu, dude. Like I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's very, like, the audience doesn't all know. I mean, I met your mom in a restaurant. So your mom and I worked years. I mean, if you put the number of years she and I worked in a restaurant, it's easily 20 plus years. And so, and we talked about this before with the movie Waiting and how accurate that is. So, the restaurant service industry is very unique because, why chefs got famous for being crazy, right? Like, what's his name? He's always yelling at people.
Gordon Ramsay. He's my favorite person ever.
Like, that was when I was your age working in a restaurant. I saw that happen all the time. Chefs yelling at the cooks and throwing plates of food that hit the wall because they weren't up to standards. I mean, that's restaurants. I still think are a little different when it comes to culture.
Yeah, restaurants are like the only industry where it's still normalized to be abused daily.
Well,
by either the customers, by the cooks, because they screwed up cooking your steak, and so by you asking, it's all of a sudden you're the worst person in the world.
Right. Everybody should work in a restaurant at least once in their life.
Everybody should. It really is one of the only places where it's still normalized to be just like
rude,
crapped on all the time.
It is.
Just
it's
continuously.
Crazy.
And you can't, it's also one of the only places where you just can't say anything back.
Yeah.
Like you really can't.
Yeah.
Oh, my steak is cooked wrong. Oh, I'm so sorry. Did you bring it in right? Whoa.
Right.
Let's calm. Hey, man, have I brought out anything incorrect this entire time?
I'm here to help you. Like,
everything else on this table is correct. What gave the impression it was me?
Right. No, it is true. I mean,
and I always make the joke too, real quick. I'll be like, guys, trust me. You don't want me on that grill. I promise you, there's a reason I'm front of house.
Yeah,
okay?
Seriously.
You do not want me touching y'all's food back there.
It is funny, though. Like, it is interesting. So I started my career in the Port of L.A. I call that my real career. I started in the Port of L.A. And so for people that don't know, you have steamship lines, which are the companies that bring the crap over in containers or whatever on ships. Then you have the companies that do the terminal operating. So they're the ones that are unloading the vessel or loading the rail or loading the trucks. But then you have to hire union labor, at least in most ports. Yeah. You have to hire union labor, and especially in California. And so there was, 6 different local chapters. So you had to know like 6 different contracts. There might have been more, but I think 6 is right. And 26 years ago, I have no idea what it's like down there now. But 27 years ago now, jeez Louise. And and you got more respect with how many F-bombs you could fit into a sentence. Like
that's just me on the daily, actually.
Yeah, well, it was like that too when you're with your friends and stuff. But it was like very contentious, and it was old school. Old salties, guys that worked down there in the 50s when they are actually climbing in the ship and throwing stuff on conveyor belts. And, it's old. It was old school, hard. The union got locked out in 2002 and were ordered back to work. And in those 11 days, they were picketing, and we had to do equipment watch because the company owns the equipment, but they would jump the fence and sabotage the equipment and block your ability to park. And I got my life threatened down there, and people got windshields smashed. And I mean, so maybe in that environment, there might still be an element of that gruff.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
A lot
of
F-bombs and get your ass to work, and you better not take that walkie. I mean, I had a boss, a union boss. I was walking down the hallway and to turn right. Mm-hmm. If you kept going straight, you went into the office, but there was like a wall right here. And I had fired him because he wasn't getting the labor turn 2. So I said, forget it. You're fired. I'll call the hall and order another dock boss. So I walk away and I turn right, and he threw his walkie, and it missed my head by like this much. And I'm talking, it was 2000s. The walkies were like this big,
Yeah.
I mean, there were no cell phones, so he freaking, and it stuck, it put a hole in the wall. And I was a clerk, so local 63 as opposed to the local 13, which was the longshore labor. I still remember their local chapters. That's how mental I am. But he was a hothead. His name was Bobby, and he was a hockey player. And he was really cool. I loved working with him. But one day, he decided to do something, and I had to go out and tell him, we're not going to do that here. And he got so mad that he stepped up to me, and I looked at him. I was like, "Are you going to hit me?" I was like, "Please hit me. Hit me. I'm begging you," because I was like 25. I was ballsy. I think I could have put up a pretty decent fight, but he probably still would have kicked my ass.
Yeah, I mean, he played hockey.
Yeah, and he was older than I was, and I was pretty damn fit at 25, but he knew how to fight. He would have killed me probably. But I was like, "Are you going to hit me?" And he was like, and he just looked at me. I was like, "Oh, go ahead, man, please, because I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue your union. I'm going to sue my company for not protecting its workers." I was like, "I'm going to retire at 25,
paid.
buddy."
I'm getting paid.
And he looked at me, and he broke, I broke him. He's like, "You're crazy." I was like, "I'm not as crazy as you, but I'm pretty crazy, dude." And then we got on with it. But that was the environment that I started my real career life in. And now today I had to take an online class about addressing disruptive behavior. You know what I mean? So most companies have evolved to what I did today. There's very few organizations that allow some of that aggressiveness,
I just can't wait until I can have my last day serving, because I have like a big kid job in line, and I get one mean customer, and I can just
everybody has those dreams, and you know what happens?
And I can just fight, and you never do it. I can just fight back.
Yeah, you never do it. Plus, you don't want to go out that way, because like I said a few weeks ago, you never know where life will take you. And I'm back with a company that I never in a million years thought I'd work with again. And here I am. So you never know. So that's why you don't do that stuff. But I'll tell you what, I think a lot of that stuff. Like
oh yeah.
I want to put a laxative in my son's soccer coach's food. I want to do the old Dumb and Dumber trick on Harry, But you wind up not doing it. You just have to rise above it. Because at the end of the day,
sometimes it's not more mature to rise above, though. Because you know what? Some people just need to be put in their place. Well, because no one puts people in their place.
Dude, it is so crazy you just said that. So I was talking to your mom on the way home, and she was telling me about a story that happened at the high school. And we've talked about,
she told me.
Yeah, with this guy and girl, and it was false claim.
Yeah.
And by the female, by the way. Not that matters, but it's relevant to the story. So the female accused the male student of doing something. Turns out it was false. And so something that crept in my mind, like, because there was, let's be truthful, the Me Too movement was great. I'm not denying it at all. There was a lot of stuff that was going on that had to come out, had to be challenged, had to surface to protect women. Women. Real women like you or your mom. And so I'm not saying anything, but what happens with anything, right, is you get copycats on everything. And so then there was this whole other segment that were making false accusations that were ruining people's lives. And then they came out later.
That's the difference of good character, bad character.
Right. And
like we talked about. Yeah.
And Bill Burr even has, in one of his stand-ups, he's talking about that. He talks, this was believe all women or something like that. And he's like, really? All? Do we have to believe all? Because not all of them are telling the truth, you know? And so there was that, his special flashed in my head when your mom told me today. And I was like, huh. And she knew, you know, your mom and I have been together a long time. So she already knew what I was thinking. And she goes, well, the boy's no Peach. And so she started describing how smug he is and how he walks in like he owns the place. And he's a sophomore, by the way. And the girl was a senior. Yeah. But she was telling me about him. And I was like, you know what's wrong? And, you know, I'm sure some softies will be like, you are a complete monster for saying this. But that all changed when people got the power to video everything. Yeah. Because everybody needs to get popped in the mouth once.
I agree.
Like everyone. Like Mike Tyson famously said, everybody's got a plan to get punched in the face. And then your plan goes out the window, you know? Yeah. And that kid, clearly, based on how your mom described him to me, has never gotten popped. Like he needs one. He needs one. He needs to get humbled. And
and so does she. So does she for what she put him through.
Right.
I mean, again, both those kids are obviously cases and they both need help individually.
Well, and it all goes back to parenting. Like I got my ass kicked twice in my life. Twice. I'm a pretty confident dude. I've won a few fights. True. I've won many. Not proud of, but but there was one time in third grade, I'll never forget it. He wound up being my best friend for a while, Ryan. I can't say his last name.
Don't say his last name.
But he kicked my ass, man. Like he beat me up. And I'll never forget it. And then one other time a guy popped me in the mouth and I was like, whoa. Like I saw stars. It didn't get past that, but it was enough for me to be like, all right, dude, I'm backing down. You win. Like I'm humble.
The only people that I've ever hit besides my brother. I've never laid hands on a girl ever. Even though someone from high school likes to say that I threatened her in a parking lot. Eliza. I have not once ever laid my hands on a girl. Yeah. Just because as another girl, I'm like, we really can't just like talk this out. Apparently not Eliza.
Really?
Yeah. It's funny. No, I think it's fun. I only bring it up because it's hilarious to me.
I know.
But I did hit a guy once. We were in third grade, and I was leaning over my desk to grab my lunchbox off the floor. And homie thought that was a great opportunity to learn female anatomy. He was sorely mistaken. And my teacher didn't even send me to the office or anything. She was like, I have to tell your parents. I was like, I was already going to tell my parents.
Yeah. Well, you knew how we felt.
Yeah, but my parents said, hey, that's your no-no square. And the only people that can touch your no-no square are you. So,
yeah. Or a doctor if
it's not weird. Right. With your mom
in the room. But, 100%.
But other than that, no one touches that no-no square without your permission. And so he messed around and found out. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't condone violence whatsoever, but I do think some people just need a little spanking.
They need some humility.
Just a little bit. Because people talk a lot nowadays and cannot back it up.
No.
And what we're also facing is a lot of people talk a lot online.
Yes.
Refuse to back it up in person. And that's the difference. So.
And that's a huge issue nowadays is what these stupid phones, man, they ruin people getting their asses handed to them. I mean, they really did. And I'm not saying people should go around. Obviously, nobody should be going around just smacking people around for nothing.
Yeah, don't just jump people for no reason. But that's not what we're saying.
But there's consequences to actions. And if you never learn consequences, then you go around thinking you can do, say, whatever, and you can't. You can't. And so that like we're seriously missing that accountability in our society nowadays. And we've talked about this before.
People used to get tarred and feathered, okay? And it was fine.
Not by
Someone
parents.
can get smacked in the mouth once in their life and be okay.
Right. Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy how badly we are missing this aspect.
Accountability, yeah.
In our society.
That's why I've just started recording people.
Well, that's the problem, though, is everybody started recording everybody, so everybody's afraid to do anything because they're afraid to get sued or arrested, for God's sakes. I mean...
Oh, I don't record via video. I voice record. I approach things with conversation.
No.
And then if you're going to go behind and be like, she threatened, I'll be like, really? Because you actually cried with me.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying that. Early on, your mom and I were downtown San Diego at a bar, and this guy kept trying to dance up on your mom. So your mom loved to dance. She loved to dance by herself.
She still loves to dance.
She does. And she was paid to dance in clubs, not naked dancing, but like promotional dancing. So she's a very good dancer, and back
in the day when clubs were like actual clubs and people actually danced, instead of just
standing around,
jumping around, jump around.
So she loved to dance on her own. So she was dancing, and I was just sitting over, doing my thing.
Dad's an introvert,
and I'm not that way. But anyway. So this guy kept trying to go up on her and dance, and she kept pushing him away. And so finally she came over. She just sat down. She's like, I'm not dealing with this guy anymore. And I was like, okay. So we go walking out, and he said something about her being an effing bitch or something like that, because she didn't want to dance with him because she had a boyfriend. What a crazy...
Also because she just didn't want to.
Right. What a crazy lady. You know what I mean?
Right. What a bitch. And she's loyal and respectful.
Right. And so I got pissed, and I freaking planted the dude. Like I right in his face, man. Scared the shit out of him. But nowadays I couldn't do that because someone would have a camera, and if they would record it, and then they'd go to the police and be like, this guy punched me in the face. And then the police would show up, and then I'd get arrested for battery. And it's like, dude, that guy deserved it. He tried to grab my girlfriend's ass and then called her a effing bitch.
Right.
Like, he deserves to get popped one,
There's a video right now going around on the internet that's apparently dividing the internet. But I have seen zero division, by the way. This guy, kind of same situation. He's at a bar with his wife. They're playing pool, and a guy keeps coming up, and she keeps like pushing him away. And obviously the husband hasn't said anything. He's kind of just letting her handle it until he needs to.
Right.
Guy finally comes up behind her, grabs her butt. Wife turns, looks at her husband. She steps completely out of the way. He takes 2 steps, knocks that guy flat on the floor.
Yeah.
All the comments, they're like dividing social media. I haven't seen a single division. Everyone in the comments is like,
he deserved it.
What's the problem here?
Right.
Everyone's like, what was he supposed to do? Let the guy touch his wife? Like,
right. Like, what are we talking about here?
Y'all wanted real men back. Well, here we go.
Well, once again.
Defending their women.
Right. Well, hopefully, like you and I have talked about, pendulums swing pretty wildly.
Yeah.
And so there was a time where it was like, no, that wasn't right. No one should lay a hand on anybody. I don't care what, blah, 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 you know? And now I think the pendulum's swinging a little bit back again to be like, no, sometimes people need to get popped in the mouth. Like sometimes you need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm right in the middle where I'm like, we shouldn't be beating up people for no reason.
Right. No.
But, if you're not listening to what people are telling you, or you're just being an asshole for no reason and harassing someone,
right,
then 100% you deserve to get a little bit of a pop in the mouth.
I agree.
Listen, consequences to your actions. If I were at a bar and there was a girl and I was just straight up shit talking her the whole time, and she didn't at least say anything to me or pull my hair, then I'd be like, all right, she earned every word I said. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I do say stuff at the bar sometimes, but it's more of like being pushed out of the way instead of just being like, hey, excuse me, or behind you real quick, you know?
Right.
And then my friends would be like, Lauren, she's drunk. I'm like, I remember my manners when I'm drunk.
Yeah.
I apologize when I'm drunk.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think there are things that are coming back, which I think are sorely missed. And I hope they help.
It's just accountability.
Yeah, I just hope
everyone
help.
Just wants accountability back.
Yeah, like, dude, like you can't be doing that. Stop doing that. And if you don't stop doing that, I mean, listen, and this is a hugely controversial subject. It wasn't controversial when I was growing up, but you know, we were a family that believed in punishment, and you know, we believed in spanking you and your brother. Now, before everybody loses their minds.
I'm in therapy because of it, guys. Don't let them tell you anything different.
I think we spanked you, between your mom and I think we spanked you a total less than 5 times. Like actual spanking, not grabbing you and forcing you to pay attention.
What about a pat on the butt?
Well, a pat, like just a little whack.
Yeah, that counts.
That doesn't count. It was like it was almost like a flick to your forehead. Like, hey, listen, stop freaking out, you know?
Yeah.
And there was a time where, I
still have had like some friends be like, and you were okay with that? I was like, dude, I was an asshole. Like when I was a kid, I was kind of an asshole.
You weren't. You were.
I was a kid that pushed I pushed buttons as a kid.
You did. You were headstrong.
And so sometimes I deserved a little pat on the butt.
You were headstrong for sure. And sometimes you earned getting some attention that you didn't want.
Yes.
You know? But I think every kid deserves it at some point in their life to where you understand there's boundaries. I'll tell you what, in my entire life, which I'm, once again, different generation, I got spanked. And I can tell you right now, the things that I did to earn a spanking, I didn't do them again. Not one time. I was like, oh, shit. Yep. Nope. I pushed the limits way too far on this one. I'm not doing that again. You know what I mean?
I was a repeat offender.
Yeah. Well, that shows you that we didn't really spank you. We just kind of smacked you a little bit.
Oh, there were a few things that I did not choose to repeat. There were a few.
Well, that's why I said less than 5 times.
Yeah.
So we're aligned. You just twist it a little bit like a kid.
Oh, I just like to give you a hard time.
Well, no, I mean I do the same thing. My mom doesn't remember some of the things that she did, and I was like, no, you actually did that.
No, it happened. Actually,
no, that's how it happened.
No, it is how it had it.
Yeah.
You'll be like, I think you're stretching that one. I'm like, no, Dad, Ryan was there. I have witness.
Yeah.
I'm like, ask him.
Yeah. So this conversation is really a continuation of last week, where there's just a different generational perspective on accountability and work ethic and consequence and all that stuff. I think this just kind of goes along with it. And what I hope is that pendulum keeps coming back to the middle, to where, listen, we don't have to beat the shit out of our kids like they did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in some cases, right? And I know that there's still child abuse, so don't get on some soapbox people out there that are like, well, you're acting like it doesn't exist. I understand. On the whole, it doesn't happen. Like, it was perfectly acceptable.
Between child abuse and reprimanding your children.
Right, and punishment, right? I mean,
right.
So I hope it gets back to the middle. I think accountability of consequences a really good motivator. I mean, it was motivating to me personally. It was motivating to me in school. Like, I didn't want to go to detention or have Saturday school, or, it was certainly impactful to me athletically, because if we didn't play well on a Saturday, that Monday practice, I mean, being a soccer player and growing up in San Diego, all my coaches were English, all of them, or at least British. And they were unbelievably hard on us. And they would say, you guys played like shit.
Line up.
We're running until somebody pukes. And we did. And if nobody puked, we never stopped running. So then we started drinking milk before we went to practice when we knew we were going to have to run so that someone would puke. And then the coach...
You have to like pull the short straw and be like, all right, your turn.
Dude, it's your turn. So you drink milk and you'd be like, oh my God, throwing up. And then the coaches, because there are no dummies, you know, when you're 15 through 25, you think older people are oblivious or they don't have a clue. And then you get to my age and you're like, dude, what a dumbass I was to think that my coach didn't recognize this. So he started recognizing, he's like, okay, well then one person threw up. We're not stopping until 5 people throw up, right? You're like, I mean, it was, so you better show up and play, right? Like, you got to work hard or there's punishment, you know? And so once again, I know I'm on a soapbox. I apologize. I've been fired up.
No, it's a good segment into the news that I have to share because, you know, we also have talked about how I also fear consequence. I really do. I fear consequences, but I also fear disappointment. I don't like disappointing people. I don't like disappointing a boss,
what happened?
A coach, my parents, anyone that is a superior, right? I don't like to disappoint them. And I didn't think you guys were going to enforce any consequences on me for the decision that I have made, which I will share momentarily. But I was scared of disappointment. And I think disappointment's just as lost as consequences. I feel like there's just a lack of fearing disappointment as well and disappointing others and letting others down. I guess I should just get into it then.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Because it was a good segue.
Yeah, I mean, you can't give that big, long lead in and then just be like, so.
All right, guys, see you next week.
I think it's about to rain. Like, we haven't made it to the point where we can leave cliffhangers. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta deliver.
Well, and I've been teasing this for weeks, but the reason I'm going to choose to share it now is because I made this decision and I realized that I was okay with it to an extent. At least in the next 6 months, it's going to be the right decision for me to make. But I wasn't really talking with anybody about it. My closest friends knew and my parents knew. But that they knew just the fact that I made the decision. And I struggle to talk about my feelings regarding decisions like this. But finally, I decided to just bite the bullet and I posted on my personal YouTube account. So you can get a little more of the story there. But I have decided to take a leave of absence. My personal YouTube channel in order to gain views because I did work in communications for a little bit and I know how to market. It's a get ready with me while I tell you why I'm a college dropout.
You're not a dropout. Sorry.
So a leave of absence. Thank you, sir, for proving my point. Anyway, guys, I have decided to stop going to school for the time being. There's a lot of moments that went into that decision. But yeah, I kind of just needed to get it out there because I've been honest with my parents since about last year, how I kind of feel about school. And I've been a little revealing on the podcast leading up to this announcement of being like, college is a scam. So really, if you've been watching, this shouldn't be that surprising. But, yeah, it's a decision that I feel happy with. Doesn't mean there's not some of those moments where I don't feel less than or like a loser. Because I was telling my mom on the phone yesterday, I went to Columbia to visit some of my old friends. And I told her, I wish sometimes I could go back 3 years and start my freshman year over and do better. A lot of decisions, basically, that kind of led to this decision.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I just need to get it out there, I guess.
So you're taking at least a semester off of school to try and figure some things out and explore other things that
don't give everything away.
Interest.
They have to go to my personal YouTube to see
I said at least, number one, so there's no definitive time frame. Number two, I said to explore other options and do other things that you're passionate about. Didn't say which ones they were. So, yeah, Yeah, listen, it's
My parents disagree with this decision. I'll tell you guys that. They don't think it's the correct decision.
I don't.
But I can't speak for my dad, and he'll speak in a second. Just be nice to me, okay, Dad? We've had a good conversation. But my mom told me that while she doesn't completely understand it, she can't completely disagree with it because she didn't go to college in the first place.
Right.
And second of all, she's like, listen, at the end of the day, your dad and I just want you to be the happiest version of yourself. And if by doing this testing period of life, just kind of figuring it out, if that's what's going to make you happier, and if it does make you happier, then at the end of the day, that's the right decision. So
yeah,
that's what my mom said, since she can't be here to advocate for herself.
Well, listen, I think 100% I just want you to be happy, number one. That's every parent's wish, at least every good parent's wish, is they just want their kids to grow up and be happy people. Happy, productive, respectful, all those things. Our job is to raise you into being a good adult that contributes to the world and society. And, system is you can't be a positive contribution to the world if you don't start at home, right? So you start at home, and then you go into neighborhood, community, and then you grow out. This podcast before, I'd be a hypocrite to say you couldn't take a break because I took a couple. So then that goes into phase 2 of being a parent, which is trying to help your kids not repeat the same mistakes that you did. And that's the great thing about being a kid is you have a good relationship with your parents. And I understand there's a lot of kids that don't, but you want your kids to lean into your parents' learnings and take their guidance to not repeat them again, right? And as a parent, you have all these dreams and wishes for your kids, and you're like, they're going to be better than me because I'm going to help them understand my mistakes, and they're not going to repeat them, which is going to make them better. And I'm going to push them here because my parents didn't push me here, and I wish they would have. And you have this whole blueprint plan of how you're going to raise your kids. And it never works that way 100% of the time, right? Like, it just doesn't. And this is a perfect example. I did not want you to stop, not because I didn't believe in needing to, because I certainly did. But like I said before, you were much closer to the completion of it than I was when I stopped the first time.
I'm not crying this time, I promise. Guys, allergies right now are just so freaking bad.
Yeah, they need to go away. So
I just didn't want everyone to think I just started crying again.
No, I know. So that's the difference. Like, I stopped after like a year. I went for a year, and I was like, I don't want to do this. Or 2 years. I did. I went 2 years. And I got what people would call your associates, right? I got a 2-year degree. And then I stopped. And I went and did a bunch of stuff. And then I came back and went back. And then I stopped again because professionally, I had full intentions of completing. But then that was when I met your mom. We wanted to get married, and so your grandpa was like, "You need a real job, dude." And so he helped me get a real job. And so then I quit school again. And it was the right decision because it thrust me into the professional world, and I learned a ton, and I wouldn't be here without it. But then I recognized that.
And I wouldn't be here without it.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I went back to school after you were born because at that time in the early 2000s, there were a lot of doors that were closed for me because I didn't have the degree, right? So I finished eventually.
Yes.
And so there is a stark difference between you and I and the fact that if you would go to summer school, you'd be done in a year. And for me, I'm like, shit, I stopped at 21. But I wasn't near graduating. I wasn't a year away. Like, I was a good 2.5, 3 years away because I was. So my vision of it is you could have gone and finished and still only been 22 years old.
Yeah.
And then You could have screwed around for 3-4 years and figured things out and traveled and done all the things. But then you would have you still could have come back after all that if needed. You would have been like, it's back here. I got it. It's done. I've moved on. And that's why it's harder for me to say, yeah, great decision. Good on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're so freaking close. It's like, dude, you'd still only be 22. When I stopped school, I was 21 and I moved to LA, Hollywood. And I messed around and made great money working at the best club and restaurant and bar in Hollywood at the time, House of Blues on Sunset Strip. It's no longer there. Tier. It was the best. But I did that between 21 and a half to 25 and a half. You know, like I did it for 4 years and did a ton of fun stuff and learned a bunch about life and people and got exposed to things that I never would have been exposed to, both good and bad. And then I went back and then I grew up and figured out some things. And so that's where my emotional reaction comes from is you could have finished and still had those same formidable years that I had.
Yeah.
And at least have had that to fall back into if you needed to, which I didn't have. I had to go back and grind it and grind.
Yeah.
And I grinded for like 5 more years, which...
Well, in all honesty, I should have just had this conversation with y'all sooner. Because again, I had already been going through debating this decision since last school year.
Yeah.
So I really should have just approached y'all with the conversation then. But I was scared. I don't know how to approach said conversation. Which, and that's why I say, everyone's like, well, how could you really be that different from a year ago? Every single year, there's a lot of changes. Yeah. Your character may stay the same at the end of the day, but there's a lot of maturing. There is still a lot of character growth.
Yes.
If you're a decent person and you are seeking that growth. But, so yeah, 20-year-old me was looking at this conversation topic going, oh, hell no.
All right.
I'm not approaching this with my parents. Are you crazy? They'll turn me down. Because I was 20.
Right.
And not to say that I'm all older and wiser a year later, but I'm a little wiser. And so I was like, listen, I've been ignoring this thing in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And so I need to just kind of like, hey guys, by the way. And I will say, since making the decision, it is very weird. But a lot of people have been super positive about it. A lot of people have been like, listen, good on you for knowing what you needed to do. Because a lot of people ignore that, what feeling inside. And then that's where quarter life and midlife crises happen because they didn't listen to themselves when they were 20 years old. Mm-hmm. I do feel better now that I've come to terms with the decision, and shared that I've come to the decision. Because now I just don't feel like I'm pretending to be anything or pretending to be anybody. It's just like, well, guess what? Sorry. Wasn't working for me at this moment in time. Yeah. But that's the other thing, too, is I can always go back, which I know you say it's harder. I get that. But at least there's comfort there.
Yeah.
If I do discover a passion. But I also want to be a writer. I can write all I want. The editors are the ones that need to have the English degree. I do not.
Yeah, maybe.
But there are certain jobs that you 100% need to be in school for, nursing, engineering, anything like that, where you really have to know the ins and outs of everything to do with that career field. I just want to write. Like, I just want to publish books. I don't need to know the ins and outs of everything.
Yeah.
And just take some time. And a lot of people are like, what do you want to do next? I don't know. That's kind of the whole point of me taking this break, is that I don't know. But I'm going to work really hard, start saving some real money. I really wanted to take this time to travel. I've said before that I would love to live outside of the country before the time I turn 30. that's all things that I get to now have the time and the freedom to figure out. So it is scary. It is different, but I'm also not alone in it. And I'm also just very excited because I don't make big decisions like this a lot. I don't listen to what I'm truly feeling a lot. And my dad can attest to that because he'll be like, well, how long did you feel that way? And I'm like, oh, just like ever. And I'm just not good at leaning into what I'm feeling because I just don't want to disappoint. It's the big thing here is I just don't want to disappoint people. I just hate when people are disappointed in me. I really do. Like, you don't have to like me, but if you're disappointed in me, then that genuinely makes me want to like just seize up and cease to exist. But I'm excited for it. I already feel much lighter. I feel more free. And sometimes you have to take the path that you never thought was going to be your path in order to find your path. So that's what I'm figuring out.
Yeah.
We're taking a little detour, y'all.
Yeah.
And I'll either land on my feet or go, damn, what was I doing at 21? But that's all things. I don't want to live a life and be like, man, I should have just listened to myself at 21 and stopped going, or else I wouldn't be in this situation, So just got to listen to your gut, fool.
Yeah.
And that's what my gut was telling me to do. So
you only have one life.
Yes.
That we know of. And you got to do what you think is right. And we've raised you, I think, in a way to be self-sufficient, strong, independent, make good decisions, good character. And so, we have to trust that this is the decision that you made, and we're going to be here and support you through it. Do we agree with it? Probably not, for all the reasons that I said, because I think you can do all the things that you just said a year from now, but that's okay. You want to do it now. There's responsibility with that decision financially. So that's where, I was telling your mom, I was like, well, that frees up this amount of money every month, and we own our cars, and your mom needs a new one. So I was like, well, that'll at least cover your new car payment here, and blah, 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 So I'm not going to lie and say that I'm like, well, okay, well, I'll take that extra money and blah, 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 for you to come back home so that you didn't have to pay any rent, and you won't do that. And that's another thing that I look back on that I was like, my parents never made me feel unwelcome at home. I was just so independent and determined to be successful on my own that I just didn't stay at home much after I graduated high school. But I did move back a couple times. Maybe 3 times. But they were short-lived. Like, I was ready to get out. And the thing that's so crazy, and this is where you are so much like me, it drives me crazy. My parents didn't make it a burden on me when I moved home. It wasn't like I had a curfew. It wasn't like I had this list of chores inside the pantry that I had to complete. They were like, just live here, save your money, and figure yourself out. And so, I didn't realize until I got older that I was like, shit, I probably should have stayed there longer. I probably could have paid off this debt or that debt, because I still have a student loan that I'm paying off, and I'm in my 50s. So I wish I would have taken that and gone, okay, I'm going to live here for a year, and I'm going to pay that off so that I have nothing to worry about, and I can save money. My parents are cool. They're not going to make me freaking do chores. I did them out of respect to my parents and not having to pay rent, but they weren't mandatory. I wasn't obligated to do that,
Well, can I explain why I'm not immediately jumping onto that?
Yeah, I mean,
one, I'm not against coming home, because every time that I am home, I have a great time because we are such a close family.
Yeah.
Some of the reasons that I, for the time being, am choosing not to is, one, I have made a ton of friends here that are graduating within the next year.
Yeah.
So I want to be here, especially my best friend since I was 5. She's going to be graduating next year. So I want to be here for her senior year.
Makes sense.
I'm making good connections at the restaurant, so that's another reason.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with my roommates, another reason. And I've already signed a lease. And trust me, last year when I had to deal with a lease takeover nonsense, I just don't have the energy to do that right now. So for those reasons, for at least until next July, I will be here. Now, listen, if I start to get into it and I'm like, ooh, looks like I'm not eating this week, then we'll look and go, all right, time for me to go home. I got to try it out first.
I get it.
I wouldn't be surprised if in a year from now I'm packing up and going home. But that's also because there won't be as much tying me down to the city of Clemson anymore anyway. But for the time being, I'm saving a lot of money now. I'm actually very proud of myself because I got my tax refund from the IRS, and I looked at my bank account today, and I'm like,
well,
you've taught me to be conscious about saving money.
Yeah.
So
I wish you'd invest more, but I can only lead.
But I'm saving.
I can only lead you to the water. I can't make you jump in. So.
But I'm saving. I'm going to work a lot more to continue to save money to maybe, who knows, maybe in a year from now I'll end up actually moving somewhere else entirely because I'll be doing okay. So we never know, and life moves pretty fast.
That's true.
Life moves pretty fast if you don't look around every once in a while. It'll pass you by or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, shit, in 6 months I could be a famous YouTuber in 6 months. We never even know. So
yeah, maybe this podcast will go crazy and then we can both quit and retire. That'd be great.
Relax.
That'd be so great. Well, listen, to wrap up today, at least on this topic, and we can continue it next week if we need to, but we're always going to support you. We want you to be the best person you can be. And at the end of the day, you need to not worry about people being disappointed in you. You have to worry about you being disappointed in you. That's number one, because you can't be a good human to other people if you're not a good human to yourself. So this is what you need to do. And if it makes you better, then great, you know? And you may have a moment as we get older to where you can look at your mom and I and be like, told you. And I hope I hope that moment happens, you know, like being a parent is the hardest thing, not because the job is hard. It's the giving everything you have to something else and then losing all that control. Like that's really, it's hard. And so your mom and I, you're always going to be our little girl. And your mom and I are always going to want what's best for you. And we're always going to try and guide you until you tell us to go F ourselves, right? But that never will go away. But one of the greatest things that you can do is look back and go, okay, I did it. And your pop-up, before he passed, was here. And I wish I would have heard it more in the moment, but I understand now what he meant when he looked at me and said, God, you really don't even need me anymore.
Yeah.
And I took that very surface level going, what are you talking about?
Right.
You're my dad. Like I call you every week, you know?
Yeah.
But what he was saying was you
figured it out.
You proved me wrong. Because my dad was militant about I should have just stayed in school and done it, and was a military veteran, and he was very structured and very consistent and did, straight and narrow, did never push.
Old fashioned.
Yeah, he never broke the rules. It drove my mom crazy. And so what he was saying to me at that moment was, you proved me wrong. You did it.
You did it.
Like, look at you, Yeah. And I hope you have that. I hope I can look at you 20 years from now, 30 years from now and go, shit, dude, you did it. Like, you proved me wrong. You did it. And
Yeah.
so that's the battle as a parent, because we know the mistakes we made. We don't want you to make the same mistakes. We have regrets. We don't want you to have them. And then you see your kid repeat the same thing that you did, and you're like, shit. And the other part of you feels like you failed, because you're like, I devoted 20 years to not being in this position, and here I am, like, so there's a lot of emotion from a parental side, and, when I didn't take my scholarship for soccer, my dad didn't talk to me for months.
Yeah.
I used to make that a point to why we weren't close. And now I'm older and I recognize why he was like that.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that, your mom and I are emotionally go through, even though you're in a weird spot. And we can continue this next week. It's a good segue to next week. We're in a weird spot with your decision. Your brother has made a decision. Your mom and I are looking at each other going, holy shit, now what?
Yeah.
So we can continue that, but here you are. This is it. You made it. You're not a dropout. I hate that term. That's a failure term. I don't like that.
I agree with that.
You stepped away voluntarily.
Yeah.
You weren't kicked out of school. You didn't flunk out of school. Like a dropout is, I was going to school. I got all Fs in a semester, got put on probation, got all Fs again, and they kicked me out. That's a dropout.
Yeah.
You have chosen to step away. And so if you go back, then you go back. If you don't, then you've made it without the need to. And we just want you to excel and succeed and reach your potential. It's what every parent wants. We never want our kids to settle. We never want our kids to take the path of least resistance because it's comfortable, and because then regrets really come in when you get older. So here we are as a family in a transitional phase. You're in transitioning out of what you've been doing the last 3 years, and we're going to go and support you and
figure it out.
We'll be here when you need us. And
phrase, I'm not a big fan of it. I only titled my YouTube video that to garner views, and it did. So
well, there
I'm
you go.
Market mind. When there's people in the world that want to see you fail, you use those buzzwords.
Yeah, it's true.
Because then people will pay attention.
Yeah.
But I digress. So this was a good episode.
Yeah.
We will continue this transition
to the family
period
change
talk.
Yeah.
Next week, because it is a good topic. But other than that, thank y'all for watching another episode.
Yeah. I love it. We're picking up followers. We're picking up comments. People are watching. They're listening. That's pretty cool. We've been doing this almost a year now, or maybe we're right at a year. So thank you for all of you that continue to come and see us and listen to us, even if it's for 20 minutes instead of an hour. Real talk, real feelings, real world things. We're going through it as a family. We're learning it together. And so thank you guys for that. Like, follow, comment, share, do all those things. I would love to retire and just talk to my daughter the rest of my life, but I can't do it if y'all don't do those things. So
exactly.
That's it. Have a good week.
Other than that,
see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next Thursday.
Peace out.